coming at you. And today we are talking about visa delays. In Bangladesh, our office has been filing so many lawsuits against the US consulate in Bangladesh to try to get their cases unstuck. We've been hearing from people who've been waiting for years and years and years to try to get their visas stuck. A typical fact pattern is what happened to our client, Alina. She petitioned for her husband and her children. And the case finally, after 2 years, they ended up at the US consulate in Dhaka. They went to their interview. And then after the interview, they were told that their visa was refused. And so they were asked to fill out a paperwork and ask for more information and so on. And then the case just dragged on and on and on. It was refused for over a year. Alina's case was just stuck. Her husband was stuck. Her kids were stuck. The family was separated. It was just awful. And so what we did is we went to court and we filed a lawsuit. It's called a mandamus lawsuit. And the basis of this lawsuit is that there's been a delay on the part of the consulate and that this delay has been unreasonable. After we filed the lawsuit, guess what happened? Their visas were issued. And this case took place a few years ago. And we have been filing lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit for Bangladeshi people and their families. And, when we started filing all these lawsuits, I just assumed that the consulate in Bangladesh would make changes and would stop, would start doing their job, really. And what I didn't expect and what surprised me is that they didn't do their job. They're just sitting there and they're doing nothing. That's the thing. So the only thing that you can do is try to get your visa. And when I talk to people all the time that have delayed immigration cases, and sometimes they hire me and sometimes they don't hire me. And, the thing that's heartbreaking is that I'll talk to people and they'll say, "Hey, Josh, do you remember talking to me?" And I'll say, "Yeah, sure." And they'll say, we spoke and it was in 2021. And now we're ready to get started. So they'll talk to me. They won't hire me. They'll wait for another 2 years or 3 years. Then they'll come back and say, "Okay, now I'm ready to get started." Don't be like that. One of my favorite expressions that I say all the time is that waiting leads to more waiting. If you've been told by your immigration lawyer, "Oh, there's nothing you can do, you just have to keep waiting," that might not be true. That might not be true. There are things you can do to get things moving, and that is the mandamus lawsuit. Now, we've had people who've come to us and they've had other lawyers, and they say, "Oh, well, I talked to my lawyer, and my lawyer said that the mandamus lawsuit's not going to work." And I say to that, really? How many lawsuits has your lawyer filed? How often do they file mandamus lawsuits? We file hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, really thousands of these lawsuits each year. So we have a vast amount of experience. A lot of times, people who say people who say, "Oh, the mandamus won't work," are lawyers who don't know how it works, have never done it, and they're just speaking not from their own experience, but they're speaking from their based on their impression of what will happen. Does that make sense? I'm going to be answering any questions that you have. I wouldn't say answering. I'll try to answer any questions you have. A lot of times people ask me questions that I don't know the answer to. So here's a great question from TikTok. Random person. I like that name. I'm a random person too. It says, "How long does it take for I-824 to get approved?" Well, that's a simple question, but let me push back against that. Why are you filing the I-824? If you think of immigration as a multiple choice test, the I-824 is kind of like the wrong answer. I don't love that application. It doesn't really do what you expect it to do. Um, so be careful. I mean, a lot of times I'll recommend instead of the I-824, I'll recommend that people just refile their case. Um, so that's one thing. But I'd like to know a lot more about why you're filing it. But to answer your question, I think the I-824 could take around 6 months, 8 months. What other questions do you have? I will try to answer for you. All my friends, I am live right now on Facebook. I'm live in our Facebook group. We have a group dedicated to visa delays, and there are over 15,000 people. It's a very active group, and I'm so grateful for that community that I created. I'm live on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, or X, whatever they're calling it now. Uh, you name it. LinkedIn. We're on LinkedIn. We're live everywhere that I could figure out how to go live. All right, here's a great question from Instagram. What about non-immigrant visa F2? Any advice to overcome 221G since 8 months ago from Saudi Arabia? This is from our friend on Instagram, Lubna Al Sheikh. Thank you for your question, Lubna. So if you're N221G, this is also known as refused or administrative processing. What that means is that you went to your interview for an F2 visa. That means that your spouse probably has an F1 visa. You went to the interview, and at the end of the interview, instead of saying yes or no, they told you, sorry, you're going to go into administrative processing. We're going to make you wait. What are they checking in administrative processing? The answer, nobody knows. Um, do I know what they're checking in administrative processing? No. Does anyone else know? No. I have a theory that they're not doing anything and that it's all just a hoax and they're making you wait. Because if your case has been in administrative processing for 6 months or 8 months or a year or 2 years or 5 years, we had people in administrative processing for 5 years. You can't tell me they're actually doing anything. They're not doing anything, not a damn thing. So if you're in administrative processing, Lubna, there are two things that you can do to get out. One is to take your hands and sit on them and try to wait it out. And that often works. Sometimes people get out of administrative processing in 1 or 2 days and they get their visas and all as well. But if you're sick and tired of waiting and you've come to believe that waiting is not going to help you, then that's where we come in. You can file a lawsuit and you can sue the U.S. Consulate in Riyadh and challenge the delay. And once you do that, it's very likely that they'll issue your visa to you. All right. Let me know what other questions you have. We have a lot of people out there joining us. I'd love to answer your questions. Let me know what they are. Filing an application with USCIS, how long does it take to get approved? Well, I don't know how long it takes to get approved. And when it comes to processing time, I mean, it depends on the application, right? But when it comes to processing time, there's something else you have to remember. USCIS filing fees are going up, astronomically. They're going up dramatically as of April 1st. So what do you think is going to happen between now and April 1st? Well, I think a lot of people are going to be filing applications. And so there's going to be a lot of applications being filed right now. Should you wait to file? Absolutely not. If you wait, you're just going to have to give USCIS more money. And you don't want to do that. So we have a friend on Instagram, Hayak. I'm not going to try to pronounce the name. I-824 stuck since August 2022. I'd like to know more about that case. Why was your I-824 filed in the first place? Could you just refile the I-130, perhaps? Maybe it's an employment-based case. I'm not sure. No clue why it's delayed. But I really like refiling the visa petition, if that's possible. Clayton White, our friend, with the very first question from YouTube. My fiance visa was sent back to USCIS. What are my chances to get that visa? Clayton, if you're listening to me, and everyone out there with a fiance visa needs to hear this. If your fiance visa was sent back to USCIS, it is over. It's game over. That fiance visa is dead, dead, dead as disco. It is gone. So your chances of getting a visa based on that visa petition are zero. It is over. It's game over. Once you have swallowed that bitter pill, then it's time to come up with a solution. So, Clayton, if you're listening, here's what you need to do. First, get married. Skip the fiance visa. Get married and apply for a green card based on marriage through a marriage-based visa petition, the I-130. That's one suggestion. Or, I don't like this one as much, but you could do this. You could just have you could have someone you could refile the visa petition, the fiance visa petition. But I don't love that. It got denied the first time, and it's going to get denied. It could get denied again. So I'm sorry. We have someone. Okay, another friend on YouTube. This is Ebby K. She says, I'm your client. We did a lawsuit, but I got this update 2 weeks ago that processing can take several months. Additional security screening is being conducted. Okay, what I want to tell you, I have some good news for you. If you've a delayed immigration case and what they tell you, the reason of the delay is because of a security check, a background check, an FBI blah, 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 or something like that, then the mandamus lawsuit cuts right through that like a hot knife through butter. That basically, that security check is going to be wrapped up and done, and hopefully you get your visa. But when I hear someone say, oh, there's a background check, it's delayed, the lawsuit is going to force them. Yeah, I think it is a good sign. I would say it's not a bad sign. When they tell you that there's a security check, additional security, blah, 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 the lawsuit is going to force them to actually do that check, right? I don't have a problem with a security check. If they want to put you through an extensive security check, no problem. The problem that I have with the security check is when they tell you that, but they don't actually do the delay. They don't have to actually check it. It just keeps dragging on, and they tell you they're doing a security check for 2 years. That's what I have a problem with. Okay. That's what I have a problem with. Don't freak out if you're told that there's a security check or a background check or something like that. And if there's anyone else out there listening to this who has a delayed immigration case and you were told that the reason that your case was delayed is because of a background check, you should reach out to us, because don't put up with that sort of delay. It's nonsense. Nonsense. I'm going to take some more questions. I've been waiting for here's somebody on TikTok. I'm making so many new videos for TikTok. I love TikTok. I'm all in on TikTok. I want to be TikTok famous. Let's see here. I have the Holden PD for 10 years. Any chance to apply for a green card? Well, that means that you were in deportation proceedings and your case was closed out under prosecutorial discretion, or PD. And if you can apply for a green card, that would, in order for me to answer that question, I would have to look very, very carefully at your entire file and review it. And I could do that, but it's not like a simple question that I could answer without really studying it. Here is a friend on TikTok, Syed Raf Kostai. I-45 rejected because I sent the incorrect fee. How long does it take to be updated? Well, write a check for the correct fee, put it back in the mail, and I think you should get it resolved pretty quickly. But don't delay. Hurry up and do that because the fees are going up, and you don't want to give USCIS $1 more than you have to, even a penny more. So Hayek says she applied for her husband in 2020. It got approved in June 2022. My petition got retained, so they asked to file an IA-24. So I would ask you if you're a U.S. citizen. If you're a U.S. citizen, Haya, if you're a U.S. citizen, maybe you should consider refiling the I-130. If you're not a U.S. citizen, then I could understand the I-824. If the I-824 is delayed, this is a case we could help you out with, in other words. All right. I'm taking more questions. More and more questions. Let me know. What would you like me to talk about? Let's see here. All right. I'm here to answer any questions that you have. I can't answer all the questions that you have. I can try. I'm going to try this. No, I'm not going to try this. I don't know how to do that. All right. Let's see here. Here's a question from Bree. I have a work permit approved under adjustment. Can my DACA be renewed without the permit form? Yes. If you have, well, let me ask you this. If you have an application for adjustment of status and you're getting a green card, then why would you renew your DACA? It's very case specific, so I don't want to tell you not to renew your DACA, but I would just consider to think about that. It says here, check Instagram. Someone said to check Instagram. Here's a question on Instagram. I married a U.S. citizen. My wife filed the case in 2022. My case came to Pakistan in January of 2023. I didn't get my interview date. How's it possible to arrange another interview date? Oh, man, that's a tough one. Well, you have to contact the consulate and ask them to schedule your interview. But that is going to be tough. I'm sorry to hear that. Okay, she booked an appointment with me on Friday. Okay, cool. We'd love to help you. All right. Questions, questions, questions. What can I do to help? All right, here's some questions on YouTube. Clayton, I feel so much sympathy and empathy for you, Clayton. If I get married to her in Africa, how long would it take for me to get her to the U.S.? It will take longer than you want, longer than it should, and longer than you expect. But to answer your question directly, I would say if you go to Africa and you get married and you're a U.S. citizen and you file a petition for your wife, you're looking at 18 months minimum, I would say. Here's a beautiful thing. Says, I'm one of your clients. Today, my case changed from refused to ready. What does that mean? And I didn't receive any email from them. Well, refused to ready. Ready means they're going to issue your visa. The next status after ready is issued. So I would say you're not ready to celebrate. When I see ready, what I think it means is get ready to celebrate. Don't celebrate now, but get ready to celebrate. Issued means that they approved you. And I consider the celebration to start when the visa is in your hand. So I'm very happy, and it's nice to see a client posting good news. It's nice to give you good news in this setting where you can see how smiling I am. And if I'm happy, you should be happy. And I'm happy. Here's a question from one of our friends on TAFE on Facebook. He says here, DS 5535. After suing, what happens if the government says it needs more time and goes to a judge? How long does it take for the judge to make a decision? Well, I'm not sure what the DS 5535 aspect of it is. Levi, I'm well. I hope you're well too. Okay. So what happens is once you file a lawsuit, the government has 60 days to respond to the lawsuit. Some of our clients are approved before that 60-day period expires. Okay? But many of them are not approved within that time frame. If they're not approved within that time frame, typically the government calls me and says, "Hey Josh, we need a little more time. Can I have an extension?" And I say, "Sure, no problem." And I give them an additional 30 or 60 days and at that point they start working on your case. They're actually doing their job. So we know that giving the government more time is not what you want, but we always look for movement. Our team is looking for movement, and that's what you're looking for too. So it's usually in that third month when we see a lot of movement. Here's a question from Corrado Soprano. We've been in the CR1 process for 18 months, 12 at USCIS, 6 at the NVC. Our embassy in Manila, my wife is Filipina, is issuing an IL. I'm not sure what IL means, for a spousal visa. At what point should we consider mandamus? Well, I think that if your case is stuck, you should consider mandamus. What does it mean to be stuck? Well, I think that if you've been waiting at the NVC, if your case was documentarily qualified at the NVC and it's taken a really long time, then at that point, if it's been stuck for 6 months or 8 months or a year, you've been documentarily qualified, nothing's happening, then you should reach out to us and we can take action on your case. All right, let's take some more questions. Can I travel with advanced parole if I have a pending asylum case not in court? I never give advice to travel, even with advanced parole. I never give that advice lightly, and I never give that advice without reviewing someone's case carefully, and you want to be very, very careful about traveling. If you have an application for asylum, you can never go back to your home country. And if you do that, it's going to mess up your asylum application, because think about it. You're trying to show that you have a fear of returning to your home country, fear that you'll be persecuted. And if you go to your cousin's wedding in your home country, it's not going to help you. It's going to undermine your claim. Here's a question from Buffalo on TikTok. Does having a kid make it take longer? Not sure what you are referring to. Having a kid make it take longer. I'm not sure. Let me know. Let me know. I'm taking questions, doing my best to answer them. Greetings from Dubai. Love Dubai. What a beautiful place. What a beautiful place. Let me know in the comments below where you are located. I am coming to you live from my office in downtown Los Angeles, where it is rainy and cold. People ask me, where's your office? And the truth is, We have offices in Boston, we have offices in Los Angeles, but we help people across the country and around the world. And we can help you regardless of where you're located. Florida, LaBelle, Florida. I don't know where that is. It sounds wonderful from Sammy Karagu. Iran, we have so many Persian friends and clients. It's great to see people from Iran. Jamaica. I went on my honeymoon to Jamaica. Falls Church next to the BIA. I don't like your neighbor. Houston. I love that. My honeymoon in Jamaica was the best thing ever. Love that country. Beautiful people. Guyana. I've always had on my bucket list. I've always wanted to go to these places. Facebook user interview was January 9th. Okay. Virginia. Clayton's in Virginia. All right. Let me know what other questions you have. F1 student denied 2 times without reason. Well, unfortunately, that means that you're very unlikely to get a student visa. If you have gotten denied 2 times, you're probably not going to get it. And here's a question from Clayton, who I feel very sorry for. Why would a fiance visa get sent back to the USCIS? I have no idea. And they're not going to tell you why, which is also ridiculous. Probably the reason why is that they don't think your relationship was genuine. But I'm speculating. That's just a guess. I don't know your case. I don't know what happened. Maybe there's some problem with I couldn't tell you. Here's Cartel Don. I would love to get a visa. Well, why not? Everyone should be able to reach their immigration goals. Here we have a question from Instagram. Let's see here. What does it mean that my case was escalated to the embassy? I don't think that means anything. Escalated. What does that mean? I've never heard that term. It doesn't mean anything specific. Arash says, you choose the questions you like, not by order. I'm sorry, Arash. I'm just looking at my phone, trying to manage people's questions. Let me scroll back up and see if I can help you out. We have someone in Frankfurt. Love that. Clayton says he's just going to get married in Africa. Please do it. Another thing, I'm going to give you another piece of advice, Clayton. Don't do an online marriage. Do you guys know what an online marriage is? There's a state, Utah, and there are some countries where you can get married like on Zoom or through video conferencing where you're not actually there in person. Don't do that because it'll be harder. Just buy a ticket and fly to Africa and get married. And I want to see a picture of you with your in-laws and your family. That's the stuff approvals are made of. Please scroll back to my question. Can you repost your question, please? I want to try and take Arash's question because he complained about me, and I'm trying to do my best. So I apologize, Arash. Here it is. Arash in Cali. I want to know, after I sponsor my mom, how long will it take she can bring her kids here? So I think your question, Arash, is you're a U.S. citizen and you want to petition for your mother and bring your mother to the U.S. How long would it take her to bring her kids here? Well, once your mother is in the US, she's a permanent resident. She can apply for her children and her spouse. The length of time it takes depends on the age and marital status of the children. If the children are unmarried and under the age of 21, that's going to go a lot faster than if they're over the age of 21 or they're married. And it may help if your mother later becomes a US citizen. It also depends on what country you're from. If your mother is, or your mother's children are from India, the Philippines, Mexico, or um, yeah, if you're from one of those countries, it's going to take longer. So the question is, it depends, and then we have to get into the visa bulletin and things like that. So that's tough. Here's somebody, USA citizen journey. This is cool. I'm 47. I didn't know I was a US citizen, born abroad to my US citizen dad, and just acquired it. That is cool. I love that. The man is a US citizen and didn't know it, and now he is. And now he could live in the US if he needed to be. Um, Here's Angela on TikTok. If you're being deported, how many master calendar hearings could you go to with before getting your order? Um, the deportation process sometimes takes a really long time, times years, 5, 6 years. So just know that it could take time. It really could. How is the U.S. Embassy in Djibouti? I think they're pretty bad. We file a lot of lawsuits against the U.S. Embassy in Djibouti. Here's a question from the Facebook user. I had an interview on the 9th of January for a B1, B2 visa to attend a conference on the 14th of June. The visa officer refused my application under 221G, and still it's in refused status. Can I request the consulate to speed up the problem? Well, if you're in 221G or administrative processing, or in your called refused, that means your case is stuck. And if you're stuck, there are two ways out. One is to wait it out. Typically, people in administrative processing, many of them get their visas approved just by waiting. And that process could take a month or two. But what happens if it doesn't take a month or two? What happens if your visa is still stuck a year from now or 2 years from now? It keeps dragging on over and over and over. If that happens, then it's very frustrating. And then we can file a lawsuit to help you get unstuck. And we have a whole team dedicated to fighting against consulates, embassies, the National Visa Center, and USCIS to challenge these ridiculous processing delays. That's what we do.